All right, in this next segment, he shares a little bit about his journey in seminary and just kind of some of the challenges that he had there as a minority. So let's go ahead and give a listen to that. Jumping way ahead because it's related to that from your book. Um, I don't remember which one of you guys wrote this. I think it might have been you. So on page 175, and it talked about some of the maybe unintended results that come out of some people's experiences in seminaries. And I think it was you that wrote, we not only graduated from American seminaries, but almost with condescension, felt like we graduated from our immigrant churches and now prepared to serve in white spaces. Admittedly, this also reflects my own experiences and the personal tensions I navigate daily. I think that was you that wrote that.
Yeah.
And okay. And can you speak to a little bit now coming out of seminary and like navigating in some of those white spaces? What was that like? What were some of the challenges that were inherent in you being forgive me if I pronounce it wrong. Is it simply Hmong? Is that how you pronounce that?
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
The H always throws me, and I'm like, I try to do more with the word than I need.
No, that's good, man. Yeah.
So what were some of those experiences, and what were some of the challenges in that season for you?
Yeah, you're getting personal now. Yeah, that was me in that portion of the book. And what I was getting at there was this dynamic that it's not just immigrants, but people of color in the Christian world in America, but probably all over, but in America in particular, where I think in our minds there is a better version of Christianity, or a more profound version, or a more professional version, or whatever that standard is. That surely what we have is just like junior varsity,
Yeah.
And it's hard to tell where that line of thinking came from. A part of it is perhaps it's minority dynamics, the other part of it is in my community, we don't have a lot. We don't have institutions. We don't have governmental leaders, so we don't have a lot of representation.
Mm-hmm.
And so so part of it is, if you're going to go to seminary, then you have to go to like established seminaries that are typically established by, in the evangelical world, predominantly white institutions. And I thank God for them. I thank God for my education. I don't want to talk down on the institutions that I were a part of, because I gained so much.
Yeah.
But I think that in going into seminary, like everyone else, but very unique, and as an immigrant, we thought that there was we were learning a better way at being a Christian. We were learning a better way to do church. A more, we might even say sometimes a more biblical way, or there's a more biblical way of preaching. There's a more biblical way of doing discipleship. And so many of us, me included, came out of seminary not just with a more biblical worldview of the church, but perhaps a more Americanized and perhaps even a more white normalized understanding of church. And embarrassed to say, me and others, we would have looked at our immigrant churches with a little bit of condescension.
Yep.
I have a completely different perspective now, but this is a normative thing that a lot of people experience. And so, I look back on that, and part of me feels sad. Part of me feels like, I was, the churches that I came from were not less than any other church, and so, if anything, us going to seminary was a part of us helping to fulfill the lack that those seminaries had, but now that I look back and I think about the dynamics of Christianity in America, there's a sociologist at the University of Chicago. His name is Stephen Warner, and he says that immigration is not the de-Christianization of America. Immigration is the de-Europeanization of American Christianity. And
Mm.
like, I now am understanding that more, you know.
Mhm.
So there's almost a dignity that's kind of being reinfused into my faith because of that dynamic, which is numerically, if you just look at statistics, without immigrant populations and people of color at large, evangelical Christianity in America would be experiencing a steep decline, very similar
Yeah.
to mainline Christianity. And this is probably a lot more than what your listeners are bargaining for. But
No, that's well, this is what I'm interested in. So hopefully they're coming along for the ride. So continue.
and there's something about what God is doing, you know, by bringing the nations here. It used to be that like people would say, "Oh, the nations are here so that we would reach them," and that's not untrue. Largely, though, that was usually what white people meant when, you know, people from other countries were coming here.
Right.
But there's a sense in which like the nations are coming here to reach North Americans as well. That's been my experience, to me, it's almost full circle, and that's what makes America unique. And again, our book and me in general, like our work isn't to like be down on America. I think there's a lot of beauty that's found in America, and one of those things is that it is one of the most diverse church
Yeah.
bodies that you'll find in anywhere in the world. So
Powerful stuff in this segment. Before I share, maybe see if was there anything in particular that stuck out to you that you really wanted to comment on? 'Cause I've got a couple.
Just his overall message about the evangelical church and how we put it on this pedestal of this
Mhm.
is the right way of doing church, the
Yeah.
better way. And man, like if you just think about like how small America is to the whole planet, like we don't even know all the ways that people are doing church where they are. So how
Yeah.
are we putting that up here?
I mean, it's so true. And Tammy says, yes, de-Europeanize God. Yes.
Cremate over.
That was that quote. I wish I had written it down right now, but the quote that he gave from he said Stephen Warner, I think, was something of like instead of us thinking that immigration coming to America
Mm,
is de-Christianizing America. Instead, it's de-Europeanizing Christianity.
yes.
And I was like, that's deep, dope, and really true. Like,
Yeah,
and I think that's the thing that and that's why I think this book is actually really, really healthy
yeah,
for anybody, specifically those who don't realize that there's ways of church and an entire body of God outside of America that is
mhm,
that is so necessary because there is the sense in which that the European central way is the way, and even the theology of the European way has been placed at the center. Like there's a book, I wasn't gonna do this, and it's a textbook, so like I haven't like really gotten through this.
oh, man.
uh but it says majority world theology, Christian doctrine in the global context.
Ah,
That's what we all need,
mhm,
because one of the great negatives of, I think, us just doing life in our little silos is that
mhm,
we only understand this layer of who God is,
yeah,
because that's the way that our experiences are, that's the way that we've been wired, that's how. But like when we do life with people from other slivers of the world, then
yeah,
we start to see God a little bit more. It's like, oh, I didn't see him that way. I didn't think about him like that. And
yeah,
and like as we become more and more of this, global church and not just little individual, local churches, then we get more of God. And then not only do we see God in a greater way, guess what? We get to reflect God to the world
yeah,
in a more broad way.
Yeah.
because they're not going to just see the white God or the black God or the
Yeah.
Indian God. You know, it's the God of many colors, you know, like
Yeah.
he's a global God.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why I love this book, because it's and I love that it says majority world, because it's like, yo, they're not the minorities.
Exactly.
Just so we're clear, it's all from people in Africa and India and China, and they're majority world.
Exactly.
You know? So we here with our, you know, Europeanized theology are minorities in the global church. So anyways, I loved that segment.